Now we need to understand in this chapter what are semiconductors. So before we understand semiconductors, let's try to understand this classification of matter. So matter is classified in terms of three major categories: good conductors, semiconductors, and bad conductors. Now there are two more categories: superconductors and insulators. But before we understand them, let's first try to understand these three categories. So good conductors are usually metals, semiconductors are usually metalloids, and bad conductors are usually non-metals. It is not compulsory, okay, but usually it is the case. Now what are exactly good conductors? So good conductors are the uh, substances which allow the charge or electricity to flow. They allow the charge or electricity to flow through them, and bad conductors do not allow the charge or electricity to flow through them. And semiconductors have conductivity which is more than the bad conductors, but less than the good conductors. So it has the conductivity in between. Now why do the good conductors allow the charge to or electricity to flow? Because good conductors have free electrons which can easily flow in the material, and the bad conductors do not have free electrons, and because of that there is no charge which can flow. And in semiconductors we have charges which can flow, but now in semiconductors there is not that much free electrons as compared to the good conductors. So because of that the conductivity is a bit less. Now next, the good conductors are usually metals. Why? Because metals have the tendency to lose the electrons. So because of that, for example sodium, it donates 1 electron, or aluminium, it donates 3 electrons. So metals have the tendency to donate the or lose the electron. So because of that the electron becomes free from the atom in case of metals. But in non-metals the tendency is to gain the electrons. For example, chlorine accepts the electron. So because of that the electron are usually bounded to the atom itself. Okay, the electron which is free from the atom is free electron, and the electron which is bound to the atom is called the bound electron. Now in semiconductors we have two types of charges. In semiconductors, electrons and holes are there which carry the charge. Now you will understand the concept of holes once we go into further details. But for now remember that in semiconductors there are two types of charges: electrons and holes. By the way, in conductors only electrons were there, and in insulator none of the charges were there. Now example of metalloids are silicon, germanium, and they have a tendency to share electrons. They neither donate or neither accept the electron. Now the most important difference which will help us in understanding the difference between the three types of material is the band theory. So what is the band theory? So let's suppose this is our atom. So we know that the outermost shell of the atom is called the valence shell. For example, let's say sodium. So in sodium 2,8,1. So the third shell is the valence shell in which one electron is there. So that can be also called valence band as well. Now suppose let's say the electron is present in the valence band, and it obtains some energy, and it jumps to some higher or upper energy level. Now what is conduction band? So if the electron jump to a certain energy, uh, for example in this region, so then this electron will become free of the atom. And if the electron remains within this bounds, within this energy levels, then it will come back to the valence band. So what is conduction band? It is the minimum energy level. If electron reach that minimum energy level, then it will become free from the atom. So electron can gain energy from valence band and go into the conduction band. So what happens is that in metals the difference of energy levels, conduction band and valence band, is very less, almost 0 or less than 0.1 or 0.2 eV. So electron can easily jump from valence band to conduction band. But in insulators the gap is huge. The gap is more than 3 EVs. So it is very difficult for the electrons to jump from valence band to conduction band. And in semiconductors the gap is less than 3 eV. So in semiconductors few electrons can go, but not all. For example, germanium has the band gap of 0.72 eV, silicon has the band gap of 1.1 eV. eV is electron volt, energy unit. So band theory tells us that in metals, because the gap is so less, electrons can easily jump in conduction band and become free. And in insulator the gap is so high that free electrons cannot be there, because electrons cannot jump from valence band to conduction band that easy. And in semiconductors, electron can jump from valence to conduction band, but yeah, again it is not that easy as compared to the conductors. Now these semiconductors are of two types: intrinsic semiconductors and extrinsic semiconductors. So intrinsic semiconductors are the semiconductors which are completely pure, and extrinsic semiconductors are the semiconductors which are impure. Now what does this mean? What is the meaning of pure and impure? So in intrinsic semiconductor there is no doping, that is, there is no external element which is added. For example, if we have pure silicon, then we can call it intrinsic semiconductor. It does not have any other element mixed in it. But in extrinsic semiconductor, doping is done, impurity is mixed. For example, silicon, let's say silicon is our main semiconductor, and in silicon we add some trivalent or pentavalent impurity, that is some element which is trivalent or pentavalent. So that is called extrinsic semiconductor. So we will come into the detail in a moment. So intrinsic semiconductors are the pure semiconductors which are having only metalloid, for example only silicon. And in extrinsic semiconductor, along with silicon or some metalloid, we have some other element as well. So why do we add the impurity? Adding impurity is called doping. So why do we dope? Okay, so doping helps us in increasing the conductivity. We will understand how the conductivity increase in a moment. So extrinsic semiconductor is of two types, p type and n type. So when we add trivalent impurity, then we get a p type extrinsic semiconductor, and when we add a pentavalent impurity, we get n type extrinsic semiconductor. So for example, in trivalent impurity, trivalent impurities are the impurities which have valency 3. Trivalent means having valency 3. Now what is valency? Valency is the minimum number of electrons that are to be exchanged in order to become stable or complete the octet. So for example, aluminum is 2, 8, 3, its atomic number is 13. So aluminum require 3 electrons to be donated in order to have its outermost shell to be the second one, and having octet in the outermost shell. So similarly, phosphorus has 2, 8, 5. So phosphorus can give off sometimes 5 electrons or share 5 electrons. So it is pentavalent. So when we add trivalent impurity to the silicon, then what happens? So for example, one more important thing, all these silicon germanium type metalloids are tetravalent, that is they have valency 4. So silicon is tetravalent. So what happens when we add the impurity? So let's assume that this is only the outermost shell of the silicon, so it has 4 electrons. Okay, now there are 3 electrons from the aluminum atom. So these are the 3 electrons, so they bound or combine with the electrons of the silicon, but there is this one electron which remains unbounded. So there has to be some electron here, but because aluminum can only give 3 electrons, so this place remains empty. So now from this we get the concept of holes. So what are holes? Holes are the particles which represent the absence of electron. Holes are the particles which represents the absence of electrons. So whenever at a certain position electron is absent, then we say that there are holes over there, and holes are considered to be positive charges, because then only the region will be neutral, because electrons are negative, holes are positive, so this region will be neutral. So holes are the absence of electrons and they are considered to be positively charged. Now this will be a bit difficult to understand, but holes are not actual any actual particle. Holes are the imaginary particles which we assume as the absence of electron. So remember, whenever electron is absent from some region where we expect it to be, then that region is called hole, and holes are considered to be positive charges. Now when we are talking about the pentavalent impurity, so in that case what will happen is, again silicon has 4 electrons. So in pentavalent impurity 4 electrons will combine with the 4 electrons of silicon, but we will have still one more electron which is extra, because we have 5 electrons. So this is the extra electron. Now what happens is that this extra electron will help us in increasing the conductivity. So again one important thing, what happens is that these holes, they keep on traveling like this. Okay, so this electron will move to here, this hole will move here, this electron will move here, this electron will move here. So these electrons and holes will keep on moving, and because of that we can say that there will be flow of charges. Here also this electron will keep on moving. So after some time this electron will come to this place, this electron will come to this place, this electron will come to this place, and this will be here and this will be here. So the electrons keeps on moving here. So this is why the impurity adding or doping increase the conductivity, because we get more charges which are moving. So because of that conductivity increase. So in p-type semiconductor, why do we call it p-type? Because in it we have positive holes as the major charge carriers, and in n-type, that is negative type, we have electrons which are the majority charge carriers. So in p-type semiconductors, majorly charge is carried by the holes, and there are few electrons as well, minority carriers. And in n-type, majority charge carriers are electron, and there are only a very few holes which move as well. So in p-type and n-type, overall we have majority holes, and in n-type we have majority electrons. But just keep in mind that this does not mean that p-type is a positive type p-type is overall positive and n-type is overall negative. No, P-type and N-type both are overall neutral. Why? Because the number of protons and electrons in the semiconductor in impurity are same. For example, we have silicon or aluminum and we make a P-type semiconductor. So initially silicon has 14 electron and 14 proton, and aluminum is 13 proton 13 electron. So total we have 27 proton and 27 electron. So overall this silicon aluminum combination is neutral. Similarly, overall silicon and phosphorus combination will be neutral. It's just that uh, charge carriers are positive and charge carriers here are negative. For example, in conductors we say that the electrons are moving, electrons are flowing, electrons are the charge carriers. So that does not mean that this wire or this copper material is negative charge. It is overall neutral because the number of electrons and number of protons are same. Similarly, we are only saying that the p-type semiconductors have majority carriers holes which are positive, and n-type semiconductors have majority charge carriers which are negative. That does not mean that p-type is positive and n-type is negative. Overall, p and n-types are neutral. Now the p-type and n-type semiconductors uh, can form different types of devices which are very useful. So if I ask you a question that how important are the semiconductors in the present world, so what would be your answer? Have you seen any use of semiconductor anywhere? So at the present uh, time, these semiconductors are the most important elements, because all the modern devices which are electronic devices like laptop, TV, mobile, the memory or servers that are there, internet connectivity is there, all of them is based on the uh, semiconductors. Everything is based on the semiconductors. So because of that, semiconductors can be termed as the most important elements in the modern time, and therefore the modern world is also called the or the modern age is also called the silicon age, because silicon is the most important element which helps us in having internet, mobile connection, etc. So from p-type and n-type semiconductor we can make devices like diodes and triodes. So diode are two terminal di means two, and triodes are three terminal devices. Tri means three. So usually the two terminal device we are talking about is called the p-n junction diode, and the usual three terminal device we will be discussing is the transistor. Now transistor can be of many types like BJT, FET, but we will only focus on BJT, bipolar junction transistor, and this FET is uh, field effect transistor, but our main focus will be on BJT. Similarly, now in p-n junction diode, we can have various different p-n junction diodes based on the different impurity or doping levels. So we can consider them to be the application of p-n junction diode. So there can be a Zener diode, solar cell, photovoltaic cell, rectifier, etc. All these are the applications of the p-n junction diode. And similarly, transistors have many applications in amplification, switching, memory storage. So this device, transistor, is the most important device because all the electronic PCB, IC, integrated circuit is made up of transistor. So transistor is the most important device in the present world, because transistor, let's say when you say that we have IC and it has let's say 8 nanometer technology, so what they are trying to say is that the transistor that they are using is of only 8 nanometers. So we have been able to fabricate transistors which are very small, and because of that we are able to make the devices so small, and in small space we can have so much processing power and memory storage because of the small size of the transistors. So these are the two types of P and N type semiconductors make these two types of devices. So first we will start with the PN junction diode.